And welcome to another edition of the ETBU Sportsnet Coaches Show. I'm Kenneth K-Rock Klein. It's time now to talk with some women's basketball, but a little bit of a change here today. Normally we would be talking to head coach Rusty Rainbow, but today we're doing a special women's basketball coaches show. We have the assistant women's basketball coach, Caleb Henson. Coach Henson, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tell you what, this is really nice to have you here. Otherwise, I'd be doing some analytical talk about women's basketball and whatnot, and that would probably be boring. So, Coach Henson, obviously, being the assistant coach for East Texas Baptist University, this being your second year here, just kind of talk about the experience of what it's like just, being with the team as an assistant.
Oh, it's just wonderful. Coach Rainbow's leadership is just phenomenal in a lot of different ways. Spiritually, it's really nice to have someone that cares about you, cares about the girls, cares about all the staff. In terms of that, first and foremost, it really helps each of us kind of keep our lives in the balance and keep things, our priorities in line, first things first. And so that's just really nice in a sports world where it can become all about wins and performance and this and that. It's nice just to really be aligned value-wise and spiritually with someone like him. And so I'm just incredibly thankful for that. I'm incredibly thankful for the other assistant coaches. We have a lot of fun together, a lot of laughs. We all work well together. We're blessed to have a staff as big as what we do. Most schools our size don't have that. And then I just say the players make it what it is. They all came over to the house last night, and we had some spaghetti, some chicken spaghetti and salad and all that. We had fun, and some of the girls stayed and played trouble with my little girl Blakely, and so it's just nice to have young ladies that can be role models for your kids, but also that you don't have to worry about off the floor in a number of ways that really just enhance going to work every single day. It doesn't feel like work. It's just really a joy to go be around all of our players because of who they are. And so we want to continue all of those things, the leadership, the staff doing their jobs well and having fun, and then the type of kids we bring in, just high character kids with a foundation of spiritual things, but are also really, really talented basketball players. So.
Now, just to clarify, we're talking about the board game trouble, not them getting in trouble,
yeah.
actually.
Yeah, the board game trouble. No, actually, I put a sarcastic post up yesterday that the girls were teaching my little 4-year-old how to get into trouble, and meaning how to get into the game of trouble, the old school game.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so Coach Henson, obviously, being the assistant, you also see things on the basketball court that your team does well, and then things that can work on as well. So kind of talking about last week's games where you came away victorious both times against McMurray and Hardin-Simmons. From your perspective as an assistant coach, I'm sure Coach Rainbow would have the same viewpoints, but from your perspective, what were some of the things that stood out to you the most about each of the two games?
Well, first, very seldom to me and Coach Rainbow not agree. It's very nice just to kind of see the game of basketball pretty much the same. And so that's nice to work together in that aspect. And so most of the time when we get post-game, halftime, whatever, getting ready for practice, we're just pretty much aligned in everything we do. So that's really nice. So just from last week, Hardin-Simmons, and then McMurray on Thursday, thought the girls played really well, coming off of a learning experience where we went to Tarleton and played a really high-quality Division II opponent. I thought we used that game to get better. We figured out some things. Hey, we still need to improve on, and we're not there yet in terms of being able to compete at a high level in Elite Eight, Final Four, national championship type games, which is what Tarleton would have been for us. And so we went back to work for 2 or 3 days in practice and got better at some things. Sharing the ball, reading some situational things on offense, and I think it really showed up on Thursday and Saturday, some of our improvement in that. But those kids are just fun to watch. Our kids are fun to watch. They get out and fly. They get out and run on offense. But when they're really, really locked in as well as what they were defensively both games, that really makes us a handful on both ends of the floor. Trying to stop us in transition, and then our execution game in half court. But when we're really tough to score on, which we were both games last week. And those are some good opponents, especially Hardin Simmons. 9-4 has the same record as UT Dallas right now, and beat UT Dallas. It was just really good to go in, get some confidence, get some things corrected. And we need to keep that mindset. We don't need to get, the big head or overconfidence that we figured it all out, now we're good. We need to keep that mindset of growing and learning so we can continue to fulfill our potential.
And that, of course, starts this week as you're going back to Richardson, Texas, where the last couple of times you've been there, you've came away very successful. Sure. Obviously, that led to a big tournament run. But like you said, you can't have a big head. And obviously, playing in Richardson against UT Dallas, it's always a tough place to play at. So just kind of talk about, because some of these players, are now new to this team, with the exceptions of the ones from last year's team. So just kind of talk about, what it is about, playing at Richardson that is always a challenge, especially for this team.
Sure. Well, that was the last time I spent this much time with you was, I think, on the road home from one of those Richardson games. So that was a good 2.5-hour fun drive home. But going to UT Dallas, they are just every single time, top of the division, top of the conference every year. I think they're still, ranked 18th or 23rd, somewhere really high nationally. They just on Saturday afternoon played the number 2 team in the country, who was 20-0, Thomas More, and they absolutely had them beat. They were up 4 points with like 50 seconds left, and through some fluke things, some fluke turnovers, ended up losing by 1 possession. And so they're UT Dallas and really a couple of teams in this conference have the ability to really go win a national championship, and that showed it on Saturday how good UT Dallas is. They've got pretty much all of their same players back. Graduated 1 post player, kind of one shooter, but they've got a core group of kids that are back with a lot of experience over multiple years in a system with a coach that's been there, the longest tenure coach in our league on the women's side. It just does a fantastic job. A great lady, great coach, but her defensive system and what they do it's incredible how consistent they've been year after year, and it's because of how great she is and the type of players that they continually get there. So it's going to be an enormous challenge for us going up there. As we know, we lost the 2 regular season conference games against UT Dallas, both at their place and here. It took until the postseason for us to get a win against them. So we're just looking forward to that challenge. And this is a whole different team. This is not last year's team. They don't have last year's team. And so it's going to be a fun challenge. It's still, a very high level of competition, but it's two different teams that are in 2 different places going into this. So we're just really excited about it, looking forward to it. The girls are pumped about it already. And so we'll go see what happens.
I'm sure. I can't wait, because that's going to be a really fun game, especially going back up there and having some nice positive memories, but at the same time kind of keeping a sort of level-headed. But just kind of looking back real fast at that last year's team, just that moment, when you did win the conference championship, and then, of course, at the run, where does that particular moment stand out for you as far as your coaching career?
I mean, it was really great. I'll tell you, at this level, at the Division III level, in Division II, won a national championship and been to, the Elite Eight and Final Four in 3 or 4 different divisions. But at this level, it is the most difficult to get that far because there's 440-something Division III schools. But in NAIA, Division II, Division I, JUCO, some of those other levels, there's only 200 to 250, 60 teams. So it's a lot more prestigious when you can accomplish something like that. And so that conference tournament was a big deal because you don't get to the national tournament at all if you don't win that. And so that was a whole lot of fun and it was very, very memorable in my mind. It stands up there just because it was so hard to do, especially coming in first year, taking over a program that was 3-22 the year before. Some of the other places, we built and worked our way up, but we didn't have to necessarily take over something as bad as 3-22. And so, it just ranks really, really, really high up there. And hopefully we can do something similar to that this year. This week we'll have some of those implications towards a division championship in the regular season. It will have a lot of implications towards the seeding in the conference tournament. But more importantly to that, in the big picture, we're kind of starting to look at more and more and more is the national tournament implications. You go win a game like this against a nationally ranked team, and you've got to win it. You can't go into the conference tournament with 4 or 5 losses and expect to get an at-large bid just because there's so many teams. But if you can go in the conference tournament with 2, maybe 3 losses, and if you happen to not win the tournament, we can still have a chance with a win like that and a few losses to make our way to the national tournament anyway. So this is a big game really on all of those fronts: the division championship, the conference tournament seeding, and a national tournament at-large bid if needed. So.
All right, Coach. Well, best of luck to you and to your team as well as you take on UT Dallas on Thursday. And then Saturday, of course, you have a home game right here against Centenary. So we will be looking forward to that. And that is going to conclude it here with assistant head women's basketball coach Caleb Henson, just so I clarify here. Stick around, folks. We're going to have more on this YouTube channel. You'll know who our next coach is in just a bit.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, bud.